Good morning. It's still morning. Our esteemed shareholders, the board members, management, and guests, it's a lovely good morning to you all. My name is Loisa Mbata, Corporate Affairs Manager and Director of Program for today's ZCCM Investment Holdings PLC Shareholder Open Day. I warmly welcome you all to this event being held here at the Mulungushi International Conference Center in Lusaka, Zambia. A warm welcome to those of you who are joining us online virtually. At this point, allow me to acknowledge in our midst the ZCCM-IH Board Chairperson, Mr. Feston Sonda, seated in front. We also have one of the board members present, Director Tisak Philippe. And next to the board chairperson on his right is the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Kakenenwa Muyangwa. To the left of the board chairperson is the company secretary, Mr. Charles Mjumpi. And to my immediate right is the Chief Financial Officer, Mrs. Chilanda Sakala. We are also joined by some members of the ZCCM-IH management team, the Chief Internal Auditor, Mr. Shepard Mwanza, and the Chief Investment Officer, Mr. Stumbeko Mubano. Allow me to simply say all protocol observed. Now, today's event is being streamed live on Spark Live and London Stock Exchange platform to ensure that our shareholders and all stakeholders worldwide can participate and stay informed about ZCCM-IH's key strategic developments and financial performance. This event, I must mention also to those of you who are joining us virtually, has two channels, the English and the French channel. And to choose either channel, make sure you mute the original audio and you'll be able to choose between French and English. The agenda for today includes opening remarks from the board chairperson and a presentation on the company's key strategic developments and financial performance. A segment will also be allocated to our brokers, Stockbrokers Zambia, who will talk about the historical performance of our share price on the Lusaka Securities Exchange, as well as the secondary listings on the London Stock Exchange and the Euronext Paris Exchange. And we will also have a question and answer session thereafter between the ZCCM-IH board and management and you, the shareholders, who are in camera here at Mulungushi Conference Center, but also those of you who are joining us virtually online. Without further ado, I will invite our board chairperson, Mr. Feston Sonda, to deliver his opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies. Good morning, all those present right in here and those joining us virtually. A wonderful good morning to you all. Esteemed shareholders, distinguished guests, and members of the ZCCM-IH board and management team, allow me to welcome you once again to this Shareholders Open Day on the 28th October 2025. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to our 2025 Shareholders Open Day. Today, we gather not just to reflect on our achievements, but also to highlight some challenges we continue to face and also the possible solutions that we're undertaking in resolving them. I want to take a moment to highlight the resilience and adaptability that define ZCCM Investment Holdings. Even amid the shifting tides of the global economy, our unwavering commitment to strategic investments and operational excellence has kept us steady and focused. It is this strength that has enabled us to navigate challenges effectively and continue delivering value to you, our shareholders. Indeed. During this year, we have seen notable progress in key areas of our business. Our investment portfolio has continued to perform well, particularly in the energy sector, which aligns with our long-term vision for sustainable growth. Notable among the achievements include the following. Our investment in Mamba Solar Energy Initiative, which is a 100 megawatt renewable energy development, and our continued stake in Mamba Energy Limited demonstrates our commitment to supporting the national energy mix while ensuring sustainability. These initiatives complement our mining portfolio and position ZCCM-IH at the forefront of Zambia's energy transition agenda. Allow me to also highlight our investment in Sino Great Chemicals, one of the most promising industrial projects under the ZCCM-IH portfolio. This project represents a major step towards value addition and mineral beneficiation within Zambia's borders. Sino Great Metals is developing a monoammonium phosphate MAP plant and a thermal power plant of 40 megawatts capacity and a phosphate mine in the Sinda district. A total investment estimated at $354 million, of which ZCCM has committed $50 million towards the company. Once fully operational, the project will not only reduce Zambia's dependency on imported fertilizers, but also strengthen the agricultural value chain by providing locally produced phosphate-based inputs. Beyond the direct economic impact, the project is expected to create employment opportunities, stimulate industrial developments in Eastern Province, and contribute to the government's goal of enhancing food security. Exploration remains a central pillar of our growth. We have drilled over 114 kilometers across key prospects by July 2025, with shaft sinking at Mingomba scheduled to commence in 2024. As a group, ZCCM continued to post strong performance. Our group revenue grew from 113.1 million kwacha in 2020 to 3.2 billion kwacha as at 2024 financial year end. Our total assets grew from 23.3 billion kwacha in 2020 to 57.3 billion kwacha in 2024, with an earnings per share of 247.8 in 2024 from 13.91 in 2020, representing over 1,600% increase. As a result of this strong performance, our share price rose significantly from 38 in 2020 to 162.16 per share on the Lusaka Security Exchange, representing an impressive 327% increase. We have now surpassed the 1 billion market capitalization mark, marking a major milestone in our growth trajectory. This achievement is underpinned by a solid net asset value, NAV, of over $2.4 billion as at end of 2024, demonstrating the company's underlying strength and continued value-creating potential. We know that with more targeted interventions, this price discovery will be achieved across the 3 stock exchanges. I urge all of you, shareholders, to support the positive image that we are creating so that you benefit from this value creation potential and also the value created. Looking ahead, we remain confident about the vast opportunities that lie ahead of us, particularly within the energy sector, which continues to offer immense potential for long-term value creation for you, our shareholders. Much of our progress to date has been driven by our ability to cultivate strong and strategic partnerships that align with our vision for sustained growth. Therefore, as we reflect on our performance today, I urge you to look beyond the figures and appreciate the strategic direction and purpose that guide every decision we make with your support. Together, we will continue to navigate the evolving landscape of the mining, energy, and related industries, emerging more resilient and better positioned to deliver lasting value to all stakeholders. Thank you for your continued confidence and steadfast support in ZCCM Investment Holdings PLC. With that, let us proceed with today's programs as we delve into our performance, highlights, and outline the path forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ZCCM-IH Board Chairperson, Mr. Festo Musonda, giving a snapshot of what to expect in the next presentations that will follow. And without further ado, I will invite to the podium the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Kakenenwa Muyangwa, to give a presentation on the company's key strategic developments. And later on, he will be joined by the Chief Financial Officer, just to give an overview again on the company's financial performance.
The ZCCM-IH Board Chairperson, the Vice Board Chairperson, unfortunately not here today, but and the other ZCCM-IH Board Directors present, and I would like to, in particular, to welcome Director Anthony Tlengi, who has just joined us. All ZCCM-IH shareholders present, allow me to simply say all protocols observed. Good morning. I shall be presenting the key developments experienced by our company during the recent months. Before I start the presentation, here's a disclaimer. The purpose of this presentation is to provide a general understanding of the business of the company and not for investment decisions. This presentation contains forward-looking matters which are subject to known and unknown risks. The outline of the presentation will start off with strategic investment developments. After that, we'll look at the financial performance highlights of the first half of 2025, and then we'll look at the strategic outlook and the corporate actions that we'll be taking. After that, will be the stock market performance, and then a question and answer session. In terms of our strategic direction, this has been in place since 2020 for the next 5 years, and we will be running out next year. And the focus has been on mining and mining-related and energy investments. And the primary purpose really is for us to drive the development and growth of the mining sector in Zambia. We are doing this by investing in greenfield and brownfield mining opportunities and mining-related opportunities across a diverse range of minerals. Commodity diversification is becoming very important, so it's not only copper and cobalt, but we are now looking at manganese, lithium, other base metals, gold, precious metals, gemstones, and industrial minerals such as limestone, phosphates, and also rare earth minerals. Some of these are extremely opportunities.
This people wanted.
I would like to look at our strategic overview, looking at the pillars, the 4 pillars that has been driving our strategy over the last 5 years. So the first one is how to extract value from our current portfolio. And in the middle section, if you look at the presentation there, that highlights how we have been addressing that pillar. So in this case, we have been looking at alternative revenue streams from the portfolio, primarily the royalty model, but there are also other developments which are coming out now where we are finding that where our objectives are coincident with the majority shareholders, that we can actually have a very effective dividend policy, particularly where the dividend policy is very well articulated and can be tracked. The second pillar is the diversification of our portfolio to reduce risk and enhance returns. So we are doing this through various levers, such as exploration. There is the push into the energy projects. As I'd mentioned before, the commodity diversification is another one. And then also mineral value addition projects and local beneficiation. This is really important, and we'll be doing a lot of this as we go forward. The third pillar is increasing shareholder value. And we have shown how from 2020 to 2024, the consistent dividend payouts have accumulated $1.6 billion during that period, or $75 million. We are also undertaking portfolio optimization so that we retain the assets which are meeting our investment criteria, and those which are not, we will be diversifying from those. The fourth pillar is to achieve operational and financial excellence. We are doing this through cost optimization. We are also adopting best practices and systems. We are also looking at enhancing our high-performance culture. ESG is very important, and we are now embedding ESG in all our processes. Just a quick snapshot of our current portfolio. We have 15 mining portfolio companies with a shareholding from 10% minimum at Chombeshi Metals to 100% owned subsidiaries, Kariba, Kabondi, and Limestone Resources. We also have 3 energy portfolio companies. The Mamba Solar Energy is a new addition this year, which is an offshoot from Mamba Energy. And we have the shareholding in Mamba Solar Energy at the same level as, or rather with the same percentages as we do have at Mamba Energy. Copperbelt Energy Corporation, that we have managed to increase our shareholding there, and something that we'll talk about later. All in all, we have 4 subsidiaries, which is Zambia Gold Company, Kariba Minerals, and Kabondi Resources, and Limestone Resources. If you look at our portfolio composition, we are at 59% with copper and cobalt, and energy comprises 11% of our portfolio, and the rest of the investments are evenly split at 6% each in lime, manganese, phosphates, amethyst, and other. Now, just to go into details in terms of the strategic developments during the year, we're starting off with Kansanshi Mining. Following the new government coming into place in 2021, by 2022, First Quantum was able to pledge the development of the S3 expansion project, and that was recently commissioned. This puts Kansanshi at a place where by next year the production numbers will start increasing. Now, as at the 1st December 2024, ZCCM-IH recorded total royalties of 1.4 billion. That's $54.5 million, compared with 1.2 billion kwacha, or $58.48 million in 2023. So if you look at the dollar values, those reflect the production numbers which were beginning to go down before the kick-in of the S3 production expansion project. So going forward, we should expect increased production, and if the market charter is to be believed, we should be expecting better prices again on copper, and already we are also seeing very good pricing on gold. So the royalties in dollar terms should be increasing going forward. Mamba Solar Energy, as the chair did briefly mention, we have invested in this new project, which is a 100 megawatt solar energy project. We put in 9.5 million as our 35% equity stake, and then effectively, as projects like these are funded, the equity would account for 30% of the cost of that project, and 70% will be coming from debt funding. The actual Mamba Energy, which has been there all along, we put in $8.75 million in equity funding towards the phase 2 300 megawatt project, and then of which, of course, the total projected cost is approximately $400 million, with expansion set to double from the current 300 to 600. That phase 2 should be ready to join the national grid in June, July next year. And by the way, the Mamba Solar Energy project, that should be ready to join the grid a little bit earlier, probably May next year. In Copperbelt Energy Corporation, we increased our shareholding from 31.07% in 2023 to 33.51%, so just over a third of the equity in CEC. This was done in 2025. And of course, as previously mentioned, we also participated in their green bond previously. Revenues for the 6 months to June 2025 was $360 million, up from $227.8 million in the same period, signaling impressive growth indeed. Mingomba Mining, our continued commitment to Mingomba has resulted in another funding of $10 million as part of our cash call, and as mentioned by the chair, 114 kilometers has been drilled over the last 2 years up to July 2025 as part of the exploration program. The commencement of shaft sinking is expected by mid-2026. Konkola Copper Mine, as of July 2025, the Danta has invested $385 million of the $1.27 billion investment plan, which is expected cumulatively by January 2030. So the Danta is keeping to its investment promises so far. KCM is now investing in projects to expand production, in particular the pump station which is being constructed, which is below the current workings, will significantly enhance production at Konkola. KCM produced 43,000 tons of finished copper, representing a shortfall of 51% against budget for the period ended 30 June 2025. Most of this shortfall was due to difficulties with the smelter, which was not operating for several months. KCM is in the process of optimizing operations and targeting 10,000 tons of copper cathodes per month by December 2025. So we should be seeing a significant uptick in terms of their production by the end of the year. Cyano-grade chemicals, as mentioned by our chair, there we invested $50 million, comprising $37.8 million for a 30% equity stake in the project, and $12.2 million in project debt financing. At Mopane Copper Mines, IRH, through their subsidiary, Delta Mining, has so far invested $620 million, comprising of $400 million for restructuring the Glencore debt and the $220 million equity investment. Mopane produced just over 24,000 tons of cathode in the first half of 2025 against a budget of 34,500 tons. The oxygen plant, which went down in November 2024 and only came up at the end of February 2025, significantly impacted production at Mopane. CNMC Luanshya Copper Mines, the watering continues at shaft 28, and recent reports shows significant progress where certain parts of the previously submerged mine are now accessible to workers. The project is estimated to cost a total of $750 million and will extend the life of mine by 20 years. The production is expected to increase with an additional 45,000 metric tons of copper per annum. At Ulvambe, the turnaround strategy is being implemented aimed at stabilizing production and optimizing operations, and also extending the mine life. There are several projects that are taking place, including deepening of one of the shafts to access lower ore bodies. The company expects further investment in mine development and infrastructure to unlock its long-term value. NFCA Africa is working on phase 2 of the Southeast ore body project, estimated to cost about $700 million, and will result in an increase in the annual production capacity from 90,000 to 110,000 tons of copper contained. In terms of the other investments, we continue to support turnaround plans at Kariba Minerals, Limestone Resources, and Zambia Gold. However, some investments or assets do not comply with our mining-related and energy focus. And in these investments, we will be divesting or are divested or are already in the process of divesting, such as Invest Trust Bank, Misenge Technical, Consolidated Gold, Musha Milling, and Rembrandt. Now, the second part of the presentation is the financial performance highlights, and I would like to invite our Chief Financial Officer to make presentations on this. Thank you.
The ZCCM Board Chairperson, the Chief Executive Officer of ZCCM, the ZCCM-IH Board Directors present, all the ZCCM-IH shareholders present, the ZCCM management, and should I simply say all protocols observed. To kick off with the financial highlights for the ZCCM-IH, I think we'll be looking at our past 6 years journey, and this is the journey from 2019 to 2025. I'm sure during the speech of the chairperson of the board, he did mention some of the key developments that we had experienced at ZCCM during the past 6 years. So you will note that over the past 6 years, ZCCM has undergone a clear transformation. If we are looking between 2020 to 2023 financial year, performance was weighed down by legacy asset impairment, and then we had also we were also recording a huge claim colon, and also if you look at our performance in this period, you will note that we were experiencing liquidity pressures. Particularly when you look at 2023, 2023 sort of marked the lowest point at the ZCCM-IH group that we recorded. You will note that in 2023, and as you can see on the slide, we recorded negative equity. However, when you look at 2024, you will see that the curve is positive in 2023, and obviously that is where we had a significant turnaround point driven by obviously the significant Mopani strategic equity transaction, and that delivered an exceptional gain in that period and resulted in us recording our EPS, earnings per share, of 246 kwacha. And then when you're looking at the half year for 2025, you will note that obviously we have recorded a loss due to the absence of the exceptional items that were recorded in 2024, as well as we had experienced the underperformance in terms of the key investments, particularly KCM and Mopani. But you will note that Mopani and KCM have embarked on a journey of transforming the company by embarking on strategic investment projects that will ensure sustainability of the key mining operations. When we move on to the group income statement, this slide is just trying to show us our performance from 2023 to the half year of 2025. The group during the half year period recorded a loss of 852 million kwacha compared to the 2024 profit of 39 billion kwacha, mainly because of the absence of the Mopani gain that was recorded in 2024. In addition to that, I did mention earlier that Mopani and KCM underperformed, but are focused on ramping up production and building sustainable income, as earlier mentioned in the speech of the CEO as well as the chair. Also, because of our assets being dollar denominated, the appreciation of the kwacha reduced US earning and also our asset value. So we had recorded significant exchange losses during this period. Moving on to look at the group financial position side, the slide is showing that the group level financial position results shows a 3% reduction in group total assets, and mainly this is because of the reduction in our trade and other receivables and short-term deposits. As you are aware, we have embarked on investment projects, and these investment projects require significant outflow of our funds, and as a result, in terms of our short-term deposits, we experienced some reduction. The appreciation of the kwacha against the dollar also resulted in the revaluation of foreign currency, denominated assets. That obviously resulted in the reduction of assets. Overall, the group recorded total assets for the half year of 55 billion kwacha compared to 2024 of 57 billion kwacha. On this slide, it provides an analysis of ZCCM-IH's investment in associates, how their associates companies performed. At group level, the share of profit declined from a positive 3 billion kwacha in 2024 to a loss of 2.7 billion kwacha in the half year of 2025. Losses came from KCM, Mopani, and Lurambe, and these losses offset the positive contribution that were made by CNMC, NFCA, Mamba, and CEC. However, I think it is important to note that KCM, Mopani, and Lurambe are undergoing significant development, and obviously this development includes operational reforms, and it also includes recapitalization and the ramping up of production. These initiatives are meant to unlock their full potential, and obviously we remain vigilant to monitor the progress of the implementation of these projects. This is the last slide in my presentation, and obviously, as earlier on presented, we have been consistent in terms of payment of dividend. This slide shows the dividend that we have paid from 2022 financial year to 2024 financial year, and we note that if you look at 2024 dividend that was paid of 528 million, it was almost double what was paid in 2023 of 243 million. I now have the pleasure of inviting the Chief Executive Officer back to present the strategic focus for the company. Thank you.
We are now progressing to the strategic outlook. So we remain focused in terms of pursuing mining-focused investment, and we look for growth and innovation with a clear intent to drive the company to financial excellence and returns and good returns through optimization. And what we'll be doing is also expanding. We intend to develop the mining sector across the value chain and reduce dependency on copper through commodity diversification. And when I say value chain, I'm talking about starting all the way from exploration, mine development, mining, and also beneficiation, local beneficiation, and looking at the developments in the country, recent developments. Local content is one of those critical things, new developments, and we will be looking at how we can also participate in local content. And we aim to continue maximizing value from both greenfield and brownfield projects in a sustainable manner that would underpin our investment. So I would like to just talk through some of the value extraction strategies that we are aiming. So at Mopani, there are opportunities for us to negotiate for marketing rights and also dividends once the turnaround starts gaining traction. With NFCA Chambishi and CNMC Luansha, we have started the process of looking towards a royalty stream or more predictable dividends. Plus also we are looking at negotiating marketing rights on the output. At Lubambe, there is of course the increased shareholding, but we're also looking at other strategies such as royalties and marketing rights. With the subsidiaries Kabundi, Kariba, Zamgold and Limestone Resources, as mentioned before, portfolio optimization is our intent here, including recapitalization, and as necessary, we may have to look at the management structures there. Energy, we have some pipeline projects that we are looking at intently, and we envisage that within the next 12 to 18 months, we could have 350 megawatts that we could be working on. Looking at what I've indicated above about marketing rights, so it's very clear that if you're going to market any portion of the production, we must have the skills to do that. And as a result, we have set up a commercial unit, initially looking at purchasing of gold and manganese, where we have an aggregation role, but also as we start getting some offtake from our investing companies in terms of copper production, we should be putting that into our commercial unit. So metal trading is an important step that we are taking. We are also prioritizing exploration through licenses that we hold and licenses that our subsidiaries hold, and also third-party licenses. Now, in terms of the licenses that we hold, we have a gold exploration license in Ufunsa, and also a mining license there. We also have an exploration license for manganese in Kabundi area. And recently, we got some significant number of new exploration licenses. And as you can see from I'll just sort of show you the next slide. As you can see from this slide, that there is a good concentration in the upcoming and very prospective DOMS area of our northwestern province. So we've got licenses there. We are being recognized by government that we are their premier investment arm in the mining sector, and we are getting the benefit of that through this exploration permit. In terms of the licenses owned by our subsidiaries, of course, there's Zambia Gold at Kasanseli. Kabundi Resources has a manganese exploration license also. And then, of course, Kariba Minerals with their amethyst mining operations in Southern Province, one of the largest amethyst mines in the world. But if you look at the production profile, there is significant production which is classified as commercial. We need to do something in terms of improving the mix there to higher quality stones. With third-party licenses, we are very much open and engaging with other partners, potential partners, about joint exploration partnerships and outright purchase where possible, depending on the stage of exploration and valuation. So I've talked about those 9 licenses, and the next one is slide is about 9 oil and gas licenses, which we have hung on for a long time. Given the developments in Namibia, we think we should continue hanging on to these and also doing something about them. We are also very carefully looking at the results coming out of the National Geophysical Survey that's being carried out right now. And we'll look at the results coming out of that, and also look at the opportunities of partnering with other interested parties in the oil and gas sector so that we can move forward our permits. In terms of corporate action, just very quickly, one of the largest things that we did last year was to start a listing optimization. As you know, we are listed on 3 exchanges: the Lusaka Securities Exchange, the Paris Euronext, and the London Stock Exchange. So we engaged our advisors, Stockbrokers Zambia and Bosprint, to review these listings and give us some ideas of how to optimize our listings. And the first step of that process is the amendment of the Articles of Association. As you know, this Friday we are going to have an EGM to consider the amendment of the Articles. And these Articles should allow us to do certain things that we can't currently do about our shares and potentially our listings in terms of optimizing. So after that, next stage will be the commencement of the optimization implementation steps, after which we will then have board presentations of the proposed actions and commit to get shareholder approval, review and approval by an EGM of those actions. And then subsequent to that will be implementation if the shareholders will approve. That's it. Thank you very much. And the next stage now is to invite our stockbrokers to look at the stock market performance. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nchema Chinzewe from Stockbrokers Zambia. We will be giving a short presentation on the stock market performance of the ZCCM-IH, primarily on the Lusaka Securities Exchange and on the Euronext. So this is our first slide looking at share price evolution since 2020. You'll be seeing data sources on the bottom of the slide as well as key points to the side. On the dotted lines you see there the dividends, the dividend payment dates. So historically here we see that there's been an arbitrage in the share prices between LUSE and on the Euronext, with the LUSE having a higher value. And we also see that in 2025 there's been a great appreciation in the share price of ZCCM, which I'll be going into in the next slide. So share price year to date on Euronext and LUSE is shown here. We have a dotted line that shows the dividend. We also have a solid green line. So this solid green line shows when the provisional abridged results were released by ZCCM to the public. And as you can see, that's also when the share price appreciation trend really started to kick off, with the release of the abridged results and the AGM also occurring. The dividend date was also the date of the AGM, and we can see that that date reinforced the trends of the share price appreciation. Next we come to the share price on the London Stock Exchange. So of the 3 exchanges where ZCCM is listed, that being Lusaka, Paris and London, London has the smallest volume and trading activity, and we see that no trading activity was recorded in 2025. Part of the reason for this is the use of physical certificated shares on the London Stock Exchange versus dematerialized or digital shares on the LUSE and on Euronext pairs. Now we come to this slide, which looks at economic benchmarks versus the ZCCM-IH share price. We didn't want to just show the share price, the increase in the share price, as one figure. We wanted to give some context for this. And so we used selected economic benchmarks, one being the LUSE All-Share Index, the other being inflation, and we used the Zambia Consumer Price Index as a measure of inflation, and then finally the USD exchange rate. What we see from this slide is that the ZCCM-IH share price is higher than both the inflation and the USD exchange rate, showing that an investment in ZCCM-IH for the beginning of this year would have been greater than those values. And with specific respects to the USD exchange rate, it shows capital preservation that you would have received from investing in ZCCM-IH. Now we come to volumes traded. Historically, trading in ZCCM-IH has been driven by retail traders. And as we can see from the graph, Euronext tends to have more volumes traded than we see on the LUCE. And this is because, one, there are more retail traders on the Euronext, and two, there's a higher level of circulation of shares on the Euronext versus the LUCE. Now coming to PE and PBV ratios. So PE standing for price to earnings and PBV standing for price to book value. PE and PBV are indicative metrics used for valuation, specifically for comparative valuation. And as we can see over the last 4 years, the value has been less than 1, which traditionally shows that ZCCM has had a lower value compared to its comparable mining companies, and shows that it has been relatively low over the period. Now we come here to my final slide, which is the SPZ disclaimer. I would like to thank the ZCCM management and board for affording us the opportunity to present, and I would also like to thank shareholders for their attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those very insightful presentations, where we started with the Chief Executive Officer giving an overview of the company's key strategic developments and financial performance that was provided by this Chief Financial Officer, Mrs. Chilanda Sakala. Just to mention that as a company, ZCCM-IH passed the $1 billion market capitalization threshold on the Lusaka Securities Exchange earlier on this year in August. And so far, we are getting close to our net asset book value of about $2.3 billion, as was shown by the Chief Financial Officer. We are going to move to the next session, which is the question and answer session. And earlier, we had requested shareholders to send through questions, which will be answered during this event. What will happen is that we'll be able to read some of these questions and their answers to the questions that were provided. But also, we will get some questions from those of you who are in camera or joining us physically here at the Malongoshi International Conference Center. We'll also get some questions from shareholders and stakeholders that are joining us virtually. So please feel free to type in your questions in the chat box, which we will be able to pick up and will be responded to by the ZCCM-IH board and management based on the presentations that have been made today. In case you have just joined us, this is the ZCCM-IH Shareholder Open Day, and so far presentations have been given. I will just go straight ahead. We did receive 28 questions from shareholders, various shareholders, and I will just very quickly go through these questions and some of the responses to these. We would want to have more time for interaction and engagement with the shareholders that are joining us virtually and physically. I will go straight ahead. Questions from Alexander and Raymond and Josette and Marcel. They asked a question about what concrete measures will be taken and by when to raise the Lusaka stock rate and to bring it closer to the NAV rate. So the response says ZCCM-IH is implementing a series of strategic measures to strengthen its investment portfolio and enhance shareholder value and align its Lusaka Securities Exchange trading price with its net asset value. The company is investing in high-value projects as the 300 megawatts power expansion and 100 megawatts solar energy projects at Mamba, the phosphate project, which was talked about, and the Mingomba copper project, which is projected to be the next biggest copper project in Zambia, to be producing approximately 300,000 metric tons of copper by 2030, with the sinking of the shaft, as mentioned earlier, commencing next year in April. So these are expected to significantly boost the net asset value upon production. It is also enhancing existing investments like the Kansanshi S3 expansion, which was recently commissioned, and will see an increase in royalty inflows and undertaking exploration in copper-rich areas of the northwestern province, as highlighted by the Chief Executive Officer on the 9 licenses that ZCCM-IH has. The next question, again from the same shareholders, Alexander, Raymond, and Marcel. What concrete measures will be taken and by when to bring the Paris London stock rate closer to that of Lusaka, as the value of ZCCM-IH is very poor, and so very few investors are interested in buying ZCCM-IH shares? The response is that the current trading arrangements on the 3 stock exchanges, namely the Lusaka Securities Exchange, the London Stock Exchange, and the Euronext Paris, are inefficient due to the lack of share fungibility across these markets. This effectively creates the perception of 3 distinct securities, leading to price disparities and reduced investor interest. So to address this, what the ZCCM-IH is doing is that upon the approval of the revised Articles of Association, implement a listing optimization program aimed at harmonizing trading across all the 3 markets. So the program will begin with an odd lot offer designed to clean up and streamline the shareholders' registers on each exchange. And following this, ZCCM-IH will also dematerialize all shares to enable the free movement and transferability of shares between the 3 stock exchanges. So once these measures are implemented, ZCCM-IH expects to achieve price parity across the exchanges, enhance liquidity, and improve investor confidence and participation, and thereby narrowing the valuation gap between the Lusaka, the London, Paris markets, but also alignment when it comes to the investment portfolio valuation creation, amongst others. So these are planned to strengthen the foreign investor confidence and also close the valuation gap. We have...
Just to add, one of the key problems that we have in terms of our share capital is that the free float is too little. If you look at the requirements on the Lusaka Securities Exchange, to be a PLC, you needed to be to have 25% free float. At the moment, we have 7 to 8% free float, of which 3 or 5% is on Paris. So there's need for us to do something about this, and we'll continue talking to our majority shareholders about what sort of things we can do. And I think by next year, if we can come up with a solution to that, we should see some significant improvements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe just to move on, the next question is from Mr. Thierry, and his question is, I read on the Zambia News website that IRH holds a co-option on the 49% of Mopani shares in ZCCM-IH. Given the fake news circulating, that the fact that I haven't read or seen anything in the shareholder circular that supports this, I'd like a formal response from the CEO to my question. So the response is that ZCCM-IH are not aware of any co-option granted to International Resources Holdings, who are the majority shareholders in and our strategic equity partners in Mopani Copper Mines. The next question again is from Thierry Charles, and the question is, what investments have been considered? Is management looking into acquiring stakes in high potential junior mining companies operating in Zambia. The response is that management, as I was seen during the presentation, we are actively assessing investment opportunities within the mining and energy sectors, including partnerships with high potential mining companies in Zambia. And due to confidentiality obligations under various non-disclosure agreements, specific details cannot be discussed at this stage and will be disclosed through the formal channels, the market announcements. The next question again is on the from Terry, who has asked whether an assessment has been carried out to find out what happened to the $8 million guarantee for KCM. The response is that a preliminary assessment has been completed. However, a more detailed review is underway in collaboration with our partners to fully account for the utilization of these funds. The next question again from Thierry Charles, is that there are recurring rumors that Vedanta does not have the necessary funds to finance the KDMP, that's Konkola Deep Mine, as required. What is the deadline for them to do so? Is there a clause allowing them to be permanently removed in the event of non-compliance? When will ZCCM-IH be able to enforce this clause? Well, as the presentation showed, management is closely monitoring Vedanta's funding commitments in line with agreed investment obligations. To date, KCM has disbursed the $385 million out of the $1.27 billion. And in addition, enforcement mechanisms are embedded in the binding agreements and will be activated in the event of any default. Another question in relation to KCM is on the GRZ, on whether GRZ, according to the press, GRZ negotiated to deal with KCM's former judicial administrator, Melingolungu, who is said to have obtained immunity from the prosecution for embezzlement. As a listed company, is ZCCM-IH bound in any way by this deal? This question is from Thierry Charles, and the response is that as ZCCM-IH, we are not party to the reported arrangement and therefore not bound by any such agreement. The company continues to operate within its statutory and corporate governance framework. So I will read some more questions. What we will do is that after this Shareholder Open Day, we'll be able to publish these questions and answer on the website, the company website, and you'll be able to access, but also we'll be able to circulate this document to all the shareholders, registered shareholders, for the responses that would have been provided. I'll go to another question from Terry Charles on the IDC and Mercuria have created a joint venture to trade copper. Does this copper relate to ZCCM-IH's holdings in copper mines? The response is that the JV between IDC and Mercuria operates independently of ZCCM-IH. However, management continues to explore trading arrangements to optimize value from its equity metals. I think before I go to the next one, I will invite some questions from the audience who are joining us in-house. If there are any questions from the shareholders that are presented in-house. Okay, there's a hand behind us. Just tell us your name, your full names, and where you're coming from. If you may stand, please. Thank you.
My name is Mwinga Munjimwemba, shareholder, coming from Livingston. My question is, what are some of the challenges you are facing or expected to face, and what are your solutions to them?
Thank you. Any other questions?
Good morning, everyone. Named Woman Solomon Mahaje from the SAC. My zone on this project, which has been illustrated that you are looking at 350 megawatts in 12 to 18 months. My question is, are you taking it in phases where you do a 90 megawatt or 100 or 150 within that period, or you just to do everything at once? Thank you.
Thank you. We will take one more question before the responses are given.
Good morning. My name is Vikwa Tokamanga, shareholder Lucy. I had two questions. So the first one is just trying to find out, looking at we're approaching 2026, do we already have a new strategic plan in place for the next strategic period? That's the first one. Then my second one is on corporate social responsibility. For this one, it's just in relation to Mopani, that's in Muflira. So, of course, we do recognize the corporate social responsibility that Mopani plays in some of the sports facilities there, but there's one in particular which is a swimming pool that's in Muflira that has been down for quite a number of years, especially given that it's got some historic value in contributing to the swimming swimming success that Zambia has faced. So just wanted to, I don't know if it's the right platform, but just wanted to mention that.
Thank you very much for that. I will invite the CEO just to respond to maybe the first question. I think it was very general. Maybe you can just highlight one or two challenges, solution, and then the power energy, and then just a comment from the last shareholder.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mwinga, in terms of the challenges that we do have, I probably have just two examples. One is energy. The fact that, as you very well know, we have shortages of energy in the country, which has resulted in increasing blackout periods when there's no power, particularly for residential areas. Thankfully, in the mining sector, this has been augmented by imports, but at a cost. So that's also eating into the profitability of investing companies. But this is a significant difficulty, which nevertheless the country has responded to this in a useful way, because if you look at the production in the copper mining industry, despite the power problems, we are looking at getting very close to 1 million tons this year. The other, by the way, the energy shortfalls also represent an opportunity for us, which we are taking advantage of. The other issue is going to be capital. If you look at our portfolio of projects, if you look at Mingomba, for example, that's a $2 billion copper mine, of which we will be, as shareholders, we will contribute about 30%. And if you look at, we, as ZCCM-IH, we contribute 15% out of our 20%, because 5% is a free carry. So the numbers will be like 15 of 95 by 30% of that 2 billion, which is 30% of that's 600. So you can see the numbers are substantial in terms of what we have to put in over the next 3 to 4 years to get Mingomba to production. Additionally, as mentioned, We also have some power projects in the pipeline. I talked about 315 megawatts over the next 18 months. So again, that's going to require some significant capital. So we are looking at ways of raising capital. This will be most likely going out in the market, maybe looking at green energy funding, which will be cheaper and probably longer, with longer tenors. But we are looking at all these opportunities and challenges and making sure that we will be properly resourced in terms of contributing and funding our project that are that we have planned. But that's something that we're working on. If it will be necessary, we'll be telling the shareholders what sort of funding, capital funding lines we have come up with as we progress. In terms of the 350 megawatts, if you look at the progression over the last few years, I think the first the announcements were 10 megawatts here, 20, 30 there, and then the last one was 100 megawatts in Samba. And of course, for us, we are also investing in the 100 megawatts at Mamba solar power. But elsewhere, it's quite common to have even a 500 megawatt project coming online all at once. This happens in China all the time. So the 300, while it sounds intimidating, is entirely possible to be done all at once. In fact, just to give you an idea, we have access to 1,200 hectares on the Copper Belt. And we believe that we could actually do much, much more than the 350 megawatts. So we are looking at this as being a phase one. We are still looking at the pre-feasibility, but that's the way we are looking at this. And then Mr. Kamanga, I don't know the details about the swimming pool, but it's something that I'll pass on to Mopani Copper Mines. I note that IRH and the current management are very keen on corporate social responsibility activities. I think the soccer side is well looked after, and you are quite right that swimming pool. I know that on the Copper Belt you have a lot of these social facilities, which previously were looked at after by the old ZCCM-IH, and probably some of them have fallen into disrepair. So we will talk to them, and I'm sure it's something that can be looked at. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more questions in the House? Okay, we have one hand here. Let's make sure the microphone is working. Please tell us your name. And
my name is Mike Momba. Good morning. I was looking at the capitalizations that have been obtained or planned, but they are quantified in terms of money, quantified also in terms of tonnage. But in the presentations, I don't seem to have seen the quantitative impact on the revenue. The impact on revenue, the impact of on net profit, the impact on shareholder for the period of paying back the capitalization, and indeed for the after the capitalization, because I believe during the payback, the shareholder value would be affected. But after that, the shareholder value would go up. So when a person is investing, they always want to see what is the effect. When we get this so much money how much are we going to make? So I'm not seeing the quantification, but the qualitative side of it is covered. What is happening to the capitalization effect?
Thank you. We'll take one more question before we have questions online. Okay, so we have a question just for the management from Sullivan Bloma, and he says, what is the time plan for implementation of a shares buyback? What do you plan to reduce the large difference in the price between Paris and the London Stock Exchange? I think we have responded to that one. But another one is, what is the status of the $100 million claim from Glencore? What is the status of the $100 million claim from Glencore? CEO, briefly, responses to those, and maybe the...
Okay. Something which I didn't respond to from Mr. Kamanga was the strat plan that it's actually about to expire. You are correct. And in fact, what we have started working on is a 10-year strategic plan, which will be in place starting from next year. So we will communicate the results of that plan once we have concluded on it. In terms, Mr. Momba, in terms of the, you did mention, I think, unless I misunderstood this, you're talking about, yes, the costs are being shown and the tonnages potentially from some of the projects, but what about the returns? What we are showing here are highlights only, and there are not specific sort of justifications for the individual investments that we are undertaking. It's just that under the normal course of like this short presentation, it's very difficult to justify each project, showing the benefits by payback periods and all those things. But I rest assured that our investment team and the board makes sure that for each investment that we do, all those numbers do make sense in terms of our priorities. That the investment criteria is being met, the paybacks is the right payback, the returns are what we expect in terms of our internal rate of return. So that does happen. It's just that it's so much information to share in a very limited time span like this. Regarding just a brief one, the share buyback, as part of the listing optimization process, there are certain steps which are being considered, and while some of them will be happening at the same time in parallel, others will have to see the effect. So, for example, if the block purchase, what's the word, Cossack? Okay, so if the effects of the odd lot will be that certain amounts of shares might be bought back. I mean, that's just on London, because as mentioned, the shares, a lot of the shares in London are held in certificate form, and it's believed that a lot of the shareholders probably have passed on, and they've left this to their heirs and heiresses. So we will try and get this back, buy those back, but that's a very specific exercise. And the next thing after that would be, there will be the bringing fungibility between the exchanges, so that the different exchanges will start showing pricing for our shares, which is closer to the best performing, so to speak. Okay. So we have to go through this process, and it's only after that, that's when we may decide whether we should have a share buyback or not. One thing that's obvious now is that because the share price has started going up, that tremendously. We are seeing situations where potentially shareholders who are complaining about the price are now saying, well, this price is good enough for me to sell my shares. So and they're trading these shares. So there's no need for us to say, we will buy these shares back when somebody else in the market can buy those shares. And the more the share price, is active and showing real value to the shareholders, we believe that the need for the share buyback may not be there. It might fall away, but we'll have to review, how all that sort of stacks up during the course of next year.
So I think what is important is really to activate our three platforms where we are listed. And generally, ours is to create that environment where those with shares can trade today. If you have shares in Paris, you can bring them to Lusaka. Really nothing stops from the shareholders to be able to float. I mean, some of these shares, you have held on to them. Really, sometimes you can harvest a bit, but nothing again stops you from buying again. You should be in the place as shareholders where you gain some today, sell some tomorrow, you sell. You can't be in a fixed point, isn't it? Investment requires that. Even when you plant in a field, for example, fruits come, you sell some tomorrow, you pluck some. So you should be in the good space now to shine around, sell some today, trade. Don't leave them and walk away that I have them, they are there. So for us, we are looking for activity. How that happens, whether it's through a buyback, then resell, or between you shareholders trading, I think we are seeing some exciting times now. Our encouragement to you is that these are your shares. Look in the market, feel free, participate. But what we need out of it, as CEO says, activity. Let's not be dormant, but be active.
Thank you. Just something on the so-called Glencore demand or something of $100 million. I'm not sure whether that's correct. It might be a misunderstanding. There is a Glencore loan, but that arose out of the dismantling of the 1.7 billion at Mopani. Now, the amount which was taken over by ZCCM-IH and government, that is being serviced and has significantly reduced. I think it's closer to half of what it was at the beginning of last year. So there's no demand from Glencore that we know of, unless there's some misunderstanding there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. And as we have two more questions from online team that is joining us online. The first question is from Rowan Johnston, and the question is, could you discuss the investment in Copperbelt Energy Corporation? It now represents around $500 million in value and provides around $20 million in annual dividends. It has been a fantastic investment. I see you are continuing to buy shares in CEC. So could you obviously think it's worth more than the current price of plus or minus 23 kwacha? Any comments on this investment will be appreciated. There's another question from Chilufya Mutale. In the unforeseen event that Mopani, KCM, and Lubambe initiatives do not perform as expected, what other avenues will help maintain the portfolio profitability? I think we'll get responses for that.
Okay. The CEC, yes, it has been a fantastic return. And the valuation, yes, it's a big contributor to our net book asset value. But as always, at any point, we have to look at our capital allocation, which is the best way of utilizing our resources that we currently have. There's also the issue of concentration. So we are looking at all these issues And then, of course, as implied, you know, what is the valuation correct or not at CEC? But I think more importantly for us, we continue to look at the best utilization of our resources to make sure that we are meeting our internal targets in terms of diversification. You know, some of the opportunities which are there, they may not bring a lot of money immediately, but in the long run, you might find that actually they can do very, very well. So these are things which we take into account while we continue to assess our portfolio. So yes, CEC is great, but you know, we also have our own views about where we want to be. Just as an example, for a long time, the investment in Mamba was looking terrible. You know, it was heavily, I think, discounted. CFO? Yes. There were write-downs in terms of the value of Mamba. But now, with you know, with the change in management at ZESCO, who are the primary off-taker, and bills being serviced, areas being cleared, we are now beginning to see some serious returns coming out of that. So maybe 3-4 years ago, it looked like a bad investment, but now it's paying off. So similarly, we believe that there are some great opportunities elsewhere. We are looking at what's happening in Mufumbwe, in the gold sector. We believe there could be some great opportunities if we can get the hang of them, you know, of how to navigate the, you know, the sort of social issues around there where you have a gold rush and the political, you know, potential political problems there. But I think you know, there are again great opportunities in the gold sector. So we'll continue seeing which is the best way we can be deploying our capital. Thank you. And just something also, I think there was a question about the capitalization of subsidiaries based on the impact on the group profit and shareholder value. This is an ongoing issue, you know, and we are quite concerned about the subsidiaries, particularly the poor performance of our subsidiaries. And sometimes when you look at it closely, we tend to think that there's need to do a couple of things. One is look at the management structures in place and the leadership at some of these subsidiaries. We need the right sort of leadership. It's not about just throwing money at companies, but the money must be deployed appropriately and you know, by the leadership at the subsidiary level. The other one is also the modus operandi. You know, we have situations where some companies, their mining assets are 300-400 kilometers away, and the management team is in Lusaka. Is that appropriate? And it's something that we are working on, where we are going to say maybe we need to change the way things have been done. In particular, we have this same situation with Kariba Minerals, where historically that has been managed from Lusaka, and we are beginning to conclude that that may not be the best way of dealing with that subsidiary. A recent example is the Kasanseli operations that Zambia Gold you know, has. So again, you know, the management team is in Lusaka, the operations are in Mwenelonga. So again, that's something that we need to look at, that maybe this is not appropriate, that the management team must be where the operations are. So that's how we are looking at the capitalization of these subsidiaries, and then the way of turning them around. It's not just purely money, but also how to manage that process. Thank you.
Maybe just a response to the issue on whether, if in the unforeseen circumstances at Mopani KCM, Lubamba initiatives do not perform as expected, what other avenues will help maintain portfolio profitability. If you can just hang on to that before you respond to that. Just let me add two more questions. There's one, looking at how the market is performing, where do you see the company in the next 5 years? Then the third last one, I think there was a clarification from the gentleman who posted on the $100 million. They say that they're referring to the $100 million arbitration case with Trafigura and not Glencore, as announced by ZCCM-IH on the 26th of June. So 3 questions, the Trafi $100 million arbitration case, and where, looking at how the market is performing, where do you see the company in the next 5 years?
Well, just maybe to come in on the 2 issues, as a comment on the CEC investment. Now you realize that our focus, much as we are looking at diversification, is mining and also energy. We all know that mining cannot take place without energy, okay? And that's why, even for government's sake, they undertook reforms in these 2 strategic areas. Before, in Zambia, only ZESCO would supply power to any mine. But because of our unforeseen circumstances at Kariba, government did go fast track in reforming the energy sector by allowing the infrastructure that ZESCO has, such that you are able to import power. Today, because of the reforms in the energy sector, most of these mining houses are importing power at a greater expense. Now, when you look at CEC as a company, CEC is one company that has the biggest infrastructure servicing all these mines. So even where CEC hasn't got the power of its own, it still supports the importation, not only to the mines in Zambia, but they're also servicing mines in the Congo. So when you look at the performance of CEC, even when they place dividends, I think they have been earning. You can see the audited financials that this is real money being created. When the mining sector, we are talking today about hitting a 1 million psychological production we have never had in Zambia. That 1 million tons is real. So much is happening. Even KCM, you can imagine, coming from a zero production. They are ramping up. They hit their 32,000. By December, they are looking at 140 to 150,000 tons. So this is real. And also KCM has announced that they have a contractor to start on the KDMP they have signed up. So if you talk about KCM, Mupani, they have got the 3 shafts that are new. They are just completing. So they're ramping up. The price of copper is not going to run away. The demand for critical minerals laid by copper in the world today, all these EV vehicles, the air conditions you look at here, these are billions of dollars in the world. So copper is strategically a mineral that will be here to stay in terms of supporting industries for many years to come. So energy is synonymous with copper production. So that's why you see us putting more investment and supporting the energy sector. Because we have invested in the mining sector, if CEC is not supported, for example, how do we get power to Kansanshi? How do we get power to Mopani? We are trying to have a sustainable supply chain, both in terms of services. So now, the question is, what if Mopani, KCM does not happen? The issue is that we have seen the current statistics. Mopani, the employees have gone from 10,000 to 13,000, even at KCM direct employees. If you look at Lubambe, they have also attained the optimization of that mine. The mine at Lubambe has been stabilized, so production is really going up, reaching 42,000 tons, which was what the mine was designed. So what we are looking in the mine space is real, and it looks very positive. We are no longer in a gloomy area, so we have to be positive that the goodness is that this copper is already explored. It's there. The reserves at Mopani are known. The reserves at KCM are known, not only underground, but even on the mining dumps you see in Chingola. So we are looking forward that these are sustainable ways. But then we look at Mingomba. This is a new mines coming. So in terms of future sustainability, the target for the mining sector is 3 million tons. So the 1 million is purely one stage we are crossing. So we are in for the long haul. And I think the West time in the mining sector is behind us. Why? Because the tax regime has been fixed and sustained now. The mining sector is quite happy and they are increasing their production. So the future looks bright. So you can add on the other items.
Thank you very much, Chair. I should say that no investor invests in a company to make losses, okay? So, you know, if Mopani, KCM, and Lubambe don't happen, I doubt that the majority shareholders will continue sitting there gladly losing money. Okay, so you know, and we saw this, for example, at Lubambe when EMR were losing money and they were pressurizing us all the time to try and put in money into that business. That's how they decided to leave, and JCCM came in onto that investment. So I think that, you know, particularly as the copper prices continue going up, any existing mine which will continue, you know, making losses, and big questions will be raised. That there is underperformance, and we continue exercising close monitoring of these assets to make sure that they're doing the right things. And you know, I'm sure that any evidence of underperformance will be pursued, and we'll engage the other shareholders to see what can be done. So that's the situation. Yeah. The trophy arbitration, what we've already, we have provided some information on that. Unless there's some significant movement, which will be followed by another public announcement, that's all that we can do. We can say at this point in time that we are still pursuing the arbitration, and it's only if there's further developments that will come out with further announcements on that. In terms of where this company could be, I'll put my head on the block and say that I would like this company to be at $3 to $5 billion over the next 5 years. We have the basics here, which are right. We have very good assets. There are great opportunities which are opening up in this country. You know, if you meet external investors and people who are looking around Africa, Zambia is standing out as an investment opportunity in the mining sector. And we are at the forefront of that movement. You know, so I expect whatever actions that we are taking to feed through back into the share price. And in 5 years' time, this must be a multi-billion, not just $1 billion, but a multi-billion dollar business. And I'm sure that we'll get all the support from your shareholders towards that objective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think online so far, those were the questions. And just want to check one more. We'll probably just get one last question in-house before we close today's shareholder open day. Any burning questions in-house? Any burning questions in-house? Okay, so we will take some more questions and answer I'll ask the questions, and then the company secretary will be able to provide the responses to some of the questions that we had received there. We still have some few minutes to go. So maybe the next question is from Terry Charles, who says, have there been that's question 8, on any discussions with restitution? If so, would the board mandate them to recover them as appropriated funds from Mopani if nothing is planned, and what are the reasons for this, given that hundreds of millions of dollars are at stake as I have been told by high-placed sources.
And the response is that ZCCM-IH retains its right to monitor all the operations of all its investee companies through its established governance mechanisms. Now, where ZCCM-IH requires external support, the identification of such kind of external support is going to be within the provisions of the public procurement procedures, as ZCCM-IH is a public body. In reference to the firm code restitution, ZCCM-IH is not in any discussion with this firm.
So we'll just go to question 25 from Olivier Cretol. Based on the gold and manganese model, what other minerals could potentially be open for purchase from small miners? Question 25.
Yes, so apart from gold and manganese, there's also a possibility for some gemstones to be part of the value chain. But of course, this is going to be dependent on additional work that has to be undertaken by ZCCM-IH.
From the same shareholder, Olivier Cretol, do you have any new licenses to explore, and if so, what stage are they at? I think this was done during the presentation. Maybe the other question is from the same shareholder. On October 8th, the president of Zambia National Marketeers Credit Association, Mr. Joseph Mwanza, asked the government in a statement to open gold trading centers in regions where mining activity is significant, such as Rufunsa and Mumbwa, to facilitate the sale of miners' production. But haven't you already done that as ZCCM?
Yes, and I think as highlighted by the CEO, so there are a number of initiatives that the company has planned, and as we speak, the establishment of some gold centers is happening, for example, in the northwestern province in Mfumbwe, but also more new license areas are also going to be opened up based on the demand and supply in each of those particular areas. So this is an ongoing activity.
Thank you. I think we'll just take two or so more questions. Question 21 from Olivier Cretol. Does ZCCM purchase gold directly without going through Zambia Gold Company? Question 21.
Yes, and I think as highlighted by CEO, the answer to that question is yes, there are specific areas where ZCCM-IH is conducting the buying of gold directly.
And I think from the same shareholder again, is it more lucrative to purchase ore from small-scale miners than to operate a mine directly?
Perhaps I'll ask the CEO to answer that one.
Is it more lucrative to purchase ore from? The answer is no. In terms of the capital outlay, you don't need that much money because you are basically it's a trading operation that you're doing. But ultimately, as shown in large-scale copper mining, you make more money from your own mined ores than what you buy from outside. Because what you're buying from outside, you are paying for the metal which is there, less processing charges, okay? And there may be small margin, but the margin you'll be making is just on the processing charges. So the best thing is to operate your own mines and then fill up from purchasing from third parties. The same model works in the sugarcane industry at Nakambala. It works in the copper mining sector. It must work also in the gold mining sector.
Thank you. Maybe this one will go to, with regard to manganese, was ZCCM also face competition for buying from small miners?
Yes. You just have to go to Serenge and see the 30 or so small operations, smelting operations or whatever. They all want the same manganese that we want. So the competition is there. We just have to work on consistency and the better pricing, and also having cash all the time to buy, because suppliers don't want a situation where they turn up a product and then you say, oh, but we've run out of cash, or the price is no longer matching what the commercial price is. But the competition will be there.
Okay, last one from online. Are there any rare earths in Zambia and or ZCCM portfolio of mines?
We are looking, but I've heard of a fantastic deposit in Malawi. I can't see why Zambia has been excluded from that geography or geology. We have seen this before. Remember how we envied Zimbabwe, Angola, and Tanzania and DRC on gold, and all of a sudden gold is there all over Zambia. We are sure that rare earths are also here somewhere. We just haven't looked. Zambia has been so copper-centric for 60, 70, 80 years. Now is the time for us to start diversifying and looking. There are some exciting opportunities in southern province of lithium. I'm sure there are rare earths somewhere out there. We'll find them.
Thank you very much, CEO. Just to mention that the rest of the questions that were received from the shareholders shared in advance, the list will be posted online on our website. You'll be able to access this catalog of questions and answers from our website. And we have come to the end of the 2025 Shareholder Open Day. At this point, I will invite the board chairperson just to give some closing remarks.
Well, thank you very much. I think we have done justice today. My role is simple: to thank all you shareholders, those with us here joining us in person and those virtually. We are existing purely because of you as shareholders, and our undertaking here is that we will continue to do what is humanly possible to ensure that your investment does grow. Yes, ZCCM is undergoing through an exciting time. I know the potential and the future is bright. We have both green fields, brown fields, investment, and also, despite our emphasis now on the energy and mining, we are also diversifying. Gold is one sector or subsector we're trying to go in, and the useful lessons and establishments will be able to allow ZCCM to deal with small-scale licensing in other minerals. As you know, there's a demand for all minerals. And even the last question about rare earth metals. Yes, I mean, these are in Zimbabwe, in Congo, in Malawi. I mean, Zambia in terms of size is not much from the mining prospect. So the veins actually pass through Zambia. Today, who knew that we had gold? Just because you don't look for these things. So maybe we're asking shareholders, wherever you stay at your farms, look for this, test your soils. You could be a potential investee company with ZCCM. So we are looking forward to yet another successful year. Be assured that we are not sleeping. We are really stepping on our successes, and also we are not afraid to face those challenges. Challenges are there to make us better, and we are improving and learning from our experience each and every passing day. So we wish to thank you all. Once again, we are here for you. On behalf of the directors present here and those who joined us virtually and the management, I wish to take this opportunity to thank management for the amount of work that they put in to host us here. We'll do so many things. What we take from here is a disparity in these three listed stock exchanges. But one thing is that after today, I think after a few days, we'll be looking at approving that Articles of Association. It unlocks a lot of things and help us indeed to address most of those questions raised. Once again, we thank you, shareholders, for being candid. Your questions are not negative in any way. They put checks on us, they open our minds, and they make us work better. So we look forward to continue what you have been doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Festum Saunders, ZCCM-IH Board Chairperson, giving the closing remarks for today's Shareholder Open Day, with gratitude expressed to you, the shareholders who've been in attendance in person here at Mulungushi Conference Center here in Lusaka, Zambia, and to those of you that joined us virtually via Zoom. We would like to say thank you for your participation as well. And also, I'd like to thank you, the ZCCM-IH Board Chairperson and the board members that are present, Bishop Mambo, John Mambo, Director Anthony Chelengi, and Director Tisak, and the CEO, the Company Secretary, and the Chief Financial Officer, and other ZCCM-IH management that are present here. We'd like to say thank you once again for your participation and for attending this event. As the board chairperson has mentioned, in the next 2 days we'll have the extraordinary general meeting to look at the articles of association to lay and lock various issues relating to the listing optimization. Thank you so much. I'd like to invite you on behalf of the board chairperson and the ZCCM-IH management team for lunch. For those of us who are present here physically, for those of you who are joining us online, unfortunately you will not be able to join us for lunch, but thank you so much once again for joining us. My name is Moisam Bata. Have a good day ahead.